Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are here for the post-match review that we are doing of this match that just took place between South Africa and New Zealand. As you can see on the screen, New Zealand, they've been able to break the losing streak, sitting 35 points to 23 as the victors in this Rugby Championship match. But looking through at the try scorers, first of all, for the Springboks, it was All Blacks who were able to get themselves those tries, Lukanyuam and Makazole Mapimpi in the 58, and then it was All Blacks who were able to get themselves the 4 tries in this match. Sam Cane, Taukei'aho, Havili, and also Scott Barrett. He did manage to score the last-minute try, but New Zealand looks like they do get some sort of cup for that one. New Zealand, they've had to work hard because, like Sam Cane said in his post-match interview, I should also mention that it was Rieko Ioane who received the man of the match. But yeah, the All Blacks, they've had to make sure that they kept on going in this contest. They were able to get themselves that monumental win. But we will be looking through some of the stats, breaking down what happened throughout this game. We did see 11 penalties against the All Blacks compared to the 7 that were given up against South Africa. Quite a few lineouts lost by South Africa, though. They did lose the 4. And I think that was a little bit down to Joseph Weber at the start of the match. Just never really found his feet, which is why after 30 minutes, they did decide that they did have to sub him off. And instead, Malcolm Marx made his way out onto the park. And he is always dangerous when he gets the chance. He was able to get himself a couple turnovers throughout this contest, but nowhere near as many as we did see for that first week. But looking through at some of the stats, there were a lot of running meters that were made between these two sides. That is for sure. Everyone out there giving it their 110%, 536 for the All Blacks, whereas for South Africa, they had 551. So the difference between this week and last week is South Africa had more running meters than the All Blacks for this match. Defenders beaten 20 by the All Blacks, 17 by the Springboks. Clean break 7-6 in favour of South Africa. What a game, says Dion Walsh. Yeah, it was a thriller. We always knew that these two sides were going to come out firing at each other, and that is what we had. There were quite a few penalties throughout that match, of course, but the physicality was there, the passion was there, and it was exactly what both of these sides wanted to do. They wanted to go out there and they wanted to put on a show. And I think the 65,000 in attendance would have enjoyed it very much. A big stat here, 15 offloads for the All Blacks compared to the 3 that we saw from the Springboks, which is an absolutely huge difference. But we did see the All Blacks trying to keep that ball alive a little bit more. 136 tackles made by South Africa compared to the 76 of the All Blacks. So proud of the AB's true grit and Bowden out made a difference to the backline, says Joe Weber. Yeah, it did seem to be functioning more on the same page with Richie Mo'unga as the fly half. Yeah, Richie needs to stay at 10. And what happened to the box rush defense? It just didn't really have a factor in this game, which was quite interesting because last game it was so prominent. So I'm not sure what the little changes that the All Blacks made midweek to work out what they need to do to shut down that rush defense. But I think it was just giving themselves a little bit more depth and then have an attacking run from Havili, Rieko Ioane, and also Havili. I thought he played very well throughout this contest. He did end up giving away one of the tries, I believe, early on. But the thing that we saw from Havili was he was cutting inwards and running it straight rather than drifting across. Because when you're drifting across that that rush defense, kind of end up getting met halfway and you don't make any meters. Whereas if you end up going straight, I've realized this just looks like I'm trying to kind of show cars where to go in a car park. But when you go straight, you make those extra couple meters, you have your forwards already next to you, and you can have a few more phases. And I love me some Springboks, but a convincing AB's win restores the normality to the world, says Mike. And also, yeah, Richie needs to stay at 10, and he stopped a possible, says Dion. And yes, welcome and congrats to New Zealand. Well-deserved. Bok made too many mistakes, too many lost opportunities, says Chris. And yeah, it kind of gave me like role reversals of what we saw last week. How the Springboks, they were actually the side who did have a few more handling errors. And also that early yellow card of Damian Valimza, it didn't cost them anything at the time, but it was one of those ones that they certainly wouldn't have wanted to have. And then alongside that, they had Jesse Creel get himself knocked out. Did Mo'unga play well? Hamish, he did. He did end up giving away one thing right at the end, which was a bit unlucky. He did end up holding on to the ball a bit too long, and it did lead to the try for South Africa. But overall, Richie Mo'unga, his kicking was solid and just showed that we don't necessarily need Jordie Barrett as our fullback because, to be honest, I actually about halfway through went, that's Jordie Barrett. We haven't seen him for 20 minutes or so. Like, he was nowhere through that middle patch. He did start to come alive a little bit more in the later stages. A great game from both sides. Can't wait to watch the highlights. Rico had a massive game. He certainly did. And Rieko Ioane is the man of the match. And I know this is cliche, but this ref, I'm not sure he'll make it out of the city alive. Says not your everyday cultures and miracles do happen, says Josh. I said under Jason Ryan we would improve. Probably by the second test I was right. And Australia could win this Rugby Championship, there, says the reviewer. There's a good chance, definitely, if they do manage to get their second win up against Argentina. They've got a good win or a good win rate playing in Australia up against the South Africans. So perhaps they do manage to go on and get themselves a few more points. Although their game up against Argentina today, that has taken place in only a couple hours' time, I think that's going to be a pretty tough one for them, because we have seen Argentina do very nicely for themselves in recent games, and also with the fact that there's no Quade Cooper, no Samu Kerevi, no Michael Hooper. I think it might be a little bit trickier, and this game was closer than the score suggests. I agree. I think New Zealand scoring that late try, it did mean that the scoreboard flattered them a little bit more, and did the Box kick less this week? They actually kicked more, surprisingly, which was incredible because I didn't think that they would, but they did kick the ball away with about 3 minutes left on the clock while they were on the halfway line, which I thought might not have been the best choice, as it just gave the possession back to the All Blacks, and then in the end actually led to one of the tries. The ABs give us the stats. Hamish Rugby, we'll look through our player stats. Lukhanyo, what a shift. He put in 144 metres carried in 7 carries. That's like an average of 20 metres per carry that he was having. 5 defenders beaten, 4 clean breaks, and also was able to score himself the try. If South Africa won, he was getting man of the match. Makazole Mapimpi also having a blinder, having 118 metres carried, 7 carries, 1 defender beaten, and 2 clean breaks there as well. But Damien Valimza, he had 30, 54 metres carried for Peter Steptatoi, and Jesper Visa also having the 50 metres. Rieko Ioane, he had 102 metres carried for the ABs, 10 carries, 4 defenders beaten, 1 clean break, and was able to also find an offload alongside that. Will Jordan, he almost brought up the 100, had 96, 62 for Caleb Clark, 40 for David Harvili. Everyone in the All Blacks backline, other than Richie Mo'unga, actually was able to get themselves, how much is that, Nathan? Is that an $80 super sticker? I saw the orange and I was like, hang on, that looks like that's a hefty fee. I'm going to have to make sure that I know what this sticker is now, Nathan. Thank you very much. I usually appreciate well done All Blacks winning at altitude. It is a huge ask. And if the ABs played Ireland next weekend, it'll be 50-0. But yeah, it's kind of like a Godzilla one? Something along those lines with like that weird bean figure. I should say in Big Bang Baby. See the Marco Vanapola. And I think this from this match, All Blacks is back in the old form. Do you think in the upcoming test they can dominate too? I wouldn't say necessarily that they will be able to dominate. I think they still need a little bit more time to make sure that they are finding the game that they are after. But it was certainly a step in the right direction for them in this contest. The Springboks, they'll be back next week or the week after, up against Australia. They will certainly be able to make sure that they have a big performance. But I think overall this was a good game. Yes, there were a few questionable decisions that a lot of people were questioning in terms of refereeing and whatnot. My voice is almost gone. As you can tell now, someone hacked me, says Nathan. And then I didn't even know that they had super stickers that went up to $80. And what a game of rugby, says Xavier. Yeah, it's always a seesaw when these two sides play, which is why I think a lot of people would have enjoyed this game a lot more, whether you went for the Springboks or you went for the All Blacks. The fact that it was so close for so long just made it feel a lot more special. Great performance from the All Blacks. Great game overall. Says Rugby Itch, and that's now 5 games in a row where the All Blacks have been held scoreless in the first 20, says the reviewer, and no win tries, says Joe Webby. Not for the Kiwis, but Makazole Mapimpi able to get the try for the Springboks. Lukhanyo, the midfielder, able to do very nicely there as well. And Sam Cane, Takiaho, Harvili, and Scott Barrett, the try scorers for the All Blacks. AB's really game firing, says Xavier. And Sam Cane, he mentioned about how much pressure was on the players, but they were all knowing that the group that they've got is good enough. They just need to put it together. And I think one of the big things for that is pretty much get yourself Richie Mo'unga in there. Although you can never count out the Springboks. If you do, you have no clue, mate, says Chris Falcon. Exactly right. Springboks are in a game till the final moments. Whether it is going to be sitting at like 20-0 down with 20 minutes left, you still got to watch out for them because they can fight back. And I mentioned that when the All Blacks were about 15 points up. I said, this game's not over. And then from there, the Springboks are able to get themselves the lead and trying to get a little bit further back into it. Redemption guy says Joe Blogs and Audi Itchy. And also, day just got worse. Man United losing 4-0 at halftime. It's not the best start to the match. Who are they playing, Rugby Itch, that they are losing 4-0? And Noyce tapped into PIA and Stan. Watch the game while having your commentary on TV. Good work, mate, says Guy. Hugely appreciate it, mate, for that one. Did you use our Kiwi Lads affiliate link? Probably not, but if you did, thank you very much. Hugely appreciate it. It was awesome because I reached out to them because, as you guys know, I send a lot of emails. I've sent them to people who I want to get custom Kiwi Lad, like little pins on my shirt and all sorts, like one of those ones, the cufflinks. No one replies. And then I was like, oh, I'll take a stab in the dark with the VPN that I use. And they replied. And like I've had a couple good conversations with them. And also we have got there, just take the win and move on. And Brentford whooping their ass, says Bob. And well did, considering winning at altitude, says Joe Webby. And I should mention, with that VPN and Stan, you will be able to also watch the next game that has taken place between Australia and Argentina. And while you're at it, you might as well watch those series on Netflix that you haven't been able to watch over the last little while. Great job. All Blacks played with desperation and passion. Some Box fans blaming the ref, but All Blacks were a man down the latter part of the game. There's Kerman in there. But yeah, I think there are certainly decisions that both sides would say didn't go their way. If the All Blacks lost, I think some people would have mentioned about the refereeing. If the All Blacks won, Springboks would have mentioned about the refereeing. I think that's just kind of the way that rugby has become, in terms of there are all these little things that can go against the players. But Luke Pearce, normally very strict. So I think with the players both knowing that going into the match, it would have been one of those ones that you want to make sure you stay on his good side. Did Graham save his job today? And there says Bob Money. I think Ian Foster, they said you need one win and we'll give you your job for a bit longer. So maybe he did just enough to keep it for that little bit longer. And great win by the ABs. Happy and absolutely great win. Well done, the ABs. If this, says O'Brien, and Dun and Dusted says Repent, and also Aruhanui. My guy says Nathan, and also Lad, any thought on today's All Blacks forwards performance compared to last week? Bola from Missouri, USA says Rugby Kiddo. I really think that they kind of spread it out a little bit more today. We saw more of Whitelock, because when we think of that first test match that we witnessed between South Africa and New Zealand, the one forward that comes to mind is Ardie Savia. The other forward that comes to mind is Ardie Savia. He was the only one who was really trying in that first game, whereas this game, you could say Ardie Savia, Sam Cane, he was doing decently at times. Sam Whitelock, Scott Barrett, also both working hard, and Samisoni Takiaho getting a few extra hard carries. De Groot did nicely in there, so they kind of spread it out a bit more and had less pressure just on Savia to make sure he had a good game. I think they should keep Ian until the end of the championship so they don't have to get a new coach halfway through a tournament. Absolutely great win for the ABs. In some ways, this confirms that Ireland are definitely the number one team at the moment. Says Brian M there. Master Mel is all over the comment section now venting his frustration, says Marco Vanapola. He certainly will be. And what if he loses the Bledisloe? Then he will probably end up getting deported to Australia. Unfortunately, just the reality of it. Although, saying that, Australia, they have come a long way in the last little while. Now that the ABs we missed, or now that was the ABs we missed, power, pace, skill, congrats. My question is, those ex-Kiwi clowns that cried about the Box game plan in the first, what's the feeling now because it didn't kill the future? Says Warren in there. So, yeah, that's the thing. Springboks in this game, they seem to have two game plans. One of them involved Lukanyuam and Makazole Mapimpi. They were brilliant throughout this game. Makazole Mapimpi and Lukanyuam, I think they had 100+ meters each in the running department, and that was great to see. Whereas for the other side of things, it was kicking that ball away of Jaden Hendrickson. I think he had probably one of the worst performances for the Springboks out of anyone, but that could have just been the fact that, one, he is still very young. He hasn't experienced too much of those massive crowds of 65,000. We've got to remember when he was playing up against the likes of Argentina for the Rugby Championship, there was no crowd. And also when he was playing earlier on up against Wales, I don't think they quite had the same crowd that they did have for this game. But also, I guess it's just learning how to play a style and how to adjust to a style if it isn't quite working for them. Is that Bowden's first yellow card? I think he's had a few in the past. Like, it might be his first of 2022, though. And the All Blacks are cool, bro, including Tonga and All Blacks. The Manu and the Eagles, says Island Jazz, and 4 changes early probably cost the Box, says Joe Webby. Yeah, they did decide straight away that Joseph Dweba was not getting the job done. He'll be a bit disappointed because he's a good player, but his line-out unfortunately can lack sometimes, which I think we learned in this game. Alongside that, having him go off, Oxnashare going off in less than the 40 minutes, and also Dwayne Vermeulen. For me, Vermeulen was one of the riskiest players to have out on the field alongside Joseph Dweba, because we haven't seen him play any rugby since his surgery, and he was always going to be struggling for fitness-wise playing at altitude. So I would have thought him coming off the bench may have been a little bit more dangerous. And then either having Malcolm Marks in the starting lineup to add a little bit more into that breakdown, or maybe you go with Jasper Wiese. He is one of the leading tacklers of the competition. Fozzie needs, or feels like Amon de Vela, finding out he American citizen in the 1916 Rising, just when he was going to get shot. An entertaining but era-strewn game. Both sides look well beatable, says Hasparov. Do you think coaching changes made a big difference in their play? I think the forwards have come a long way in the last couple of weeks. I know that Greg Feek and also Jason Ryan seem to be doing some real good things, working together. No, Maxi will be very happy with that, of course. Friend of the channel, we did interview him a bit earlier on. And Ethan de Groot definitely as the future should make the number 1 jersey his own. Only concern is he's heavily strapped knee, but was really, really good, says BP. Yeah, he did look like he was able to muscle up with Franz Malherbe, which is something last week Bauer didn't quite seem like he was able to do. Adi Savia is an Avenger in disguise. I guess that's a decent way of describing him. I wonder what Baby Thor Fuf de Klerk has to say about this, says Katie Dixon. And Master Mel, give Ligma the heads up. My guy straight up, says Nathan. I thought there were too many errors still, says Joe Webby. And Goodwin, plenty to improve still, including our HD. Glad we have more threats on attack this week, probably because of Richie's ball playing, says Freeman Eder. Hopefully I said that correctly. But yeah, Richie Mo'unga made a huge difference to this All Black side. And a question that a lot of people will have is, if Beauden Barrett did start, would it have changed anything in terms of the way that they did function early on? I think Havili's perfect to link up with Richie Mo'unga. And then for Beauden Barrett, you got to look at maybe Quintal Pyer, as that Lomax also stepped up. He had a good game, Tyrell Lomax. He's got a solid frame and was able to use it. All Blacks forwards, Richie and Rico stood up. And awesome channel, you call it fair with zero bias. Rugby World Cup will rock. No out-and-out favourite. Ireland showed us. Again, one fantastic effort from the AB, says Warren. And yeah, our goal is to always be straight down the middle with the commentary. I think it does make it a lot more fun as well. But anyone who isn't already, I should mention, be sure to leave a like on this live stream. I don't think I've mentioned it throughout the early stages of this one, but be sure to leave a like. We are currently sitting on 56 and we have got over 400 people watching. So let's see if we can push that towards 100 in the next couple minutes or so. Sam Smith out, says Loma, and the All Blacks need another Kieran Reid, missing the power and the speed for that one. And I do think Cullen Grace would be a good filling gap for that, because he has been playing well for Canterbury, for the Crusaders. Do you have a Discord server, says Joe Granger? We do indeed. Although I am always bad at finding how to find a Erdinsi, or Erdinsi, says Sam there. And it is Richie playing better, or is it Richie playing better, or is it Beauden not picked that worked? Oh, it's a very good question, because at the end of the day, Beauden Barrett off the bench didn't have the best game, but he only had like 2 minutes till he gave away that penalty. It would have been interesting to see what he could have done in those later stages if he had more time. Cullen Grace with 100 there, and Whole Chicken from last night, and Potato Boys says Golden Guest, and one of AB's greatest ever wins, says Peter. Oh, greatest ever, I wouldn't say completely, but greatest, or one of the best for trying to change momentum, definitely. With how they played last week, with how they compared to how they played this week, you'd have to say the turnaround is something that sometimes would take a team about 3 or 4 months to be able to get going. And also, Joe's got the Discord there. Have we still got a Sebastian in the chat? Because if we do, he normally is very good with the Discord link, but I'll see whether or not I can find one for us here. Where do we find it? We go plus the people. We go copy. There we go. And we go like that and like that. There we go. That is our Discord link for anyone who is interested. And this is how you bounce back from a tough loss, not like the third Island test and great performance considering the expectations, says Timothy. Number 8 traditionally covers the back. We are missing that, says Joe Webby, and Foster's keeping his job for another week. And player of the match, says Peter Booz. I believe they gave it to Rico Ioane. Another player right up there was Adi Savia. He looked very impressive. And then also, say David Havili pretty solid game as well. Ref did do us a few favours, in my opinion, but I'll take it still. Foster needs to go, and congratulations to the AB, says Victor. And surely a turning point for the AB, says to Uso. It's a good start. They now head into their games up against Argentina, coming off a win. They will be playing in New Zealand, so a little bit more of that home field advantage. I want to hear the garbage Chef Wilson and the breakdown we'll come up with on Monday. I just hope they don't oversell the All Blacks praises, because it's like when Beauden Barrett got his yellow card. Justin Marshall pretty much, it was Justin Marshall. He was like, I don't think there's anything in that. And then they showed a replay, and it was clear as daylight that it was at least a yellow card against Beauden. And Cheeky Eddie will be feeling confident and say, and there's a rinser. And Cheeky Eddie will be feeling confident. And also Xavier is the best player in the world. And we lose in the pool stages next year, aren't we? And Jeff already overwhelmed it on Stan, mate. And well done, New Zealand. This really hurts. There's Sakabula in there. But that's the thing. Springboks, they still had their moments throughout this game. It's 1-1 between the two sides, which is exactly what it was last year in the Rugby Championship. And, all the best for South Africa heading into their games up against Australia. I'd like to think that the kind of feeling's mutual for New Zealand heading into their games up against Argentina. I'm pleased for Ian Foster after all the pressure, says Peter Booz. And there as well. Yeah, it must be a lovely feeling for Foster having a win finally after having to fight so long to just keep his way. Great way to respond to all the criticism win at Ellis Park, says Paddy's Bricks. And also with that extra altitude, it's a huge win when you think about it, because playing at non-altitude, they were beaten by about 16 points, wasn't it? Whereas playing at altitude, they've been able to win it by 12. Ioane is not a good player, says Romain there. And Nastil second, says Paru. And a dominant win, says Timothy. And Foster did nothing, says Cameron. And Justin Marshall has consistently put his foot in his mouth for years. Here's David the Mod in that one as well. But I guess if you guys had to pick a player who you think will be able to shine for South Africa up against the Australians and New Zealand up against Argentina, who would you guys go with? Do let me know in the comments. Who do you think are the players to watch out for? Also, if you haven't already, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We're currently sitting on 91 likes, which is hugely appreciated. We're almost at that 100. And also, if you haven't already, sure to hit that subscribe button. We're getting closer and closer to the 16,000. Still think Rieko Ioane is a better winger than a centre. Just seems more lethal on the wing. And when you look at where his positioning was, a majority of the time when he did have his big runs, they did actually start from him being out on the wing. Foster should still go. A lot of the improvements when the forwards attack just looked disjointed, although a great win, says Philip. And maybe I would have had Sam Cane as the captain, as Joe. And I think the injection of the bench made the difference, says Paddy's Bricks. And where did we win? Or where did we win the game tonight, says Joe Webby. I think we won it in the forwards, because that's something that last week we didn't really see any of. Like I mentioned, it was Xavier and Xavier only who was working hard. And also the connection between Aaron Smith and Richie Mo'unga actually looked pretty solid at times. But the All Blacks, they hung on to it for a little bit longer, I should say. Mo'unga started the Island game, maybe he's win. He's more of a team player, says Pinelli. And Williamson will shine for South Africa. He's a brilliant player, Damian Valimza. I don't know how that man is only about 24, but he's got such a bright career in front of him. I think Christie made a big impact, says Paddy Brick. Mapimpi, says Jody there. And also, we have got Mapimpi and Pollard. And yes, AB's forwards, massive improvement, says Nathan. And I guess that's down to Jason Ryan. And also, I believe Greg Feek is in charge of that one. I'm sure Maxie will love me saying that, like I mentioned earlier on. But they did very nicely. Did Frizzell make a difference? A little bit. I'm actually going to have a look at the stats and see how many tackles Shannon Frizzell made. So for South Africa, 11 made by Malcolm Marks, 1 turnover, 1. 13 for Lou Diacha, 10 for Sia Khaleesi, and 14 tackles made by Damian Valimza. Whereas for Shannon Frizzell, he made 8. He had an all right game overall, Shannon Frizzell, but I don't know whether or not I'd say he was one of the 41 meters carried, to be fair. I guess I probably underjudged him a little bit for that one. And also got over the gain line. Yeah, that's probably where quite a few of those meters did come in. But I was worried a little bit when he did end up elbowing that fellow in the back of the head, Jesper Visa, after that penalty. That was actually a huge turning point in the game when they did reverse that penalty. And did you see Richie Mo'unga starting in front of Barrett from now on? Or do you see him, sorry? I'd like to say sometimes, but other times probably they will still go Bowden Barrett. But I think Richie Mo'unga, if you're going David Arvili at 12, got to have Richie Mo'unga as the inside centre. These kind of games is what rugby is all about. Glad nobody is losing their job, says George. Sad news. Ian stays on, says Marco. And to win at Ellis Park under these circumstances really is a great achievement and justifies the reputation of the ABs. And 6, we are weak, says Joe Webby. And that is where I love Ethan Blackadder. I feel like he's a huge miss because of the injury that he has got. Also, Cullen Grace, I think, could be a great 6 or 8, depending on what way he decides to go. But I think Sam Cane, he stepped up in this game as well. Yes, he probably wasn't one of the star performers of the game, but he still, for me, did enough to warrant at least being on the bench for the ABs. He was able to make 11 tackles, the leading tackler out of the All Blacks, the only man to reach double figures. Didn't miss 4 tackles, but if he was committed to that many, I think it was possibly why I think Rico proved tonight where he belongs. But it could have not happened unless the forwards set the platform reflective of the fact South Africa were making changes before halftime. Seth Pohiri, yeah, they were very early making those changes. Do you think Argentina could challenge the All Blacks in some aspects? I think 100% that Argentina will be right in those games because we saw last year, we've seen this year as well. You cannot underestimate the Pumas. They are a tough side. They were able to beat Scotland. They were close to beating Australia, but then those last couple tries that go against them. I think they win against Australia today by about 3 points. That is my prediction. I'm going to be a long cup of tea for Ian Foster, says Nathan. And thoughts on Fakatava? I would have loved to see him play in South Africa just to see how he'd go. But I think since he's so young, he's still got plenty of time to move his way in there. Aaron Smith's been a bit of a mentor for him, I guess you could say. And also, we have got there, can they still sack Foster now? Well, it's a very tricky one that they find themselves in. Reason being, you tweet publicly, if we lose both of these games in South Africa, we will ask Ian Foster to formally resign. He wins a game in South Africa, so now you can't really ask him to resign, can you? Because it's like he's done what you wanted him to do. So it's more of a case of how hypocritical could we see New Zealand rugby being in the next little while. And do you think the change, front row change was a success, says Joe Webby? I think so. Overall, Ethan de Groot looks strong. I'm just going to look at the penalties conceded to see what those numbers were for them. We didn't really see too many. We saw one against Franz Malherbe, one against Oxnard, and then also actually 2 against Lomax and 2 against Ethan de Groot. But I don't know whether or not they were all at scrum time. So that's probably another one. And did a lot of unseen and important work. You know, one of those individual cameras tonight, says Freeman. There, but I think I did like Lomax for the fact that he was willing to put the body on the line around the side. Saw enough of this game to keep moving forward. I like what I'm seeing from this group, says Paddy's Bricks, and join the Discord, says Alama there. And do we see Razor getting the job now, or is Foster staying on? I think he's staying on for a little bit longer. And Rico covered well, great game. Yeah, he played very well, Rico Ioane. In a game where he needed to step up, he did just that. Was able to get quite a few running meters over the 100 for himself. We have plenty of loose forwards of quality. I think locks need to think on those, says Lock K. And there, although, to be fair, I think Whitelock stepped up in this game. It's more of I'd say it's a partial fix, though, because at the end of the day, like, he's not getting any younger after the World Cup. They will have to look at their next options. Ethan did a no-arms tackle, and it was a penalty, says Joe Granger. And there, yeah, that was one of his ones, wasn't it? And then I think the other was at the scrum when it did end up kind of going sideways. And All Blacks going to win the Rugby World Cup 2023. They've still got a little way to go, that is for sure. And also, we have plenty of loose forwards of quality. I think Locks, I read that one. It also has a great kick video. Now this big, do you want to do reviews on my YouTube channel? Little Hamish on, says Brandon in there. Although I think we are going to be going for another maybe 15, 20 minutes on this one. So anyone who is new, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. We will be doing this for the next one. Whitelock was a machine, says Hamish. And there's a very good first name as well, mate. And also, as they say in New Zealand, he won in Ellis Park. He won in Ellis Park. I feel like the Kiwi accent, we do simplify some things, don't we? Like, at the end of the day, like, it's easier to simplify things. Fish and chips, we say, just because we don't want to open our mouth too much. Fish and chips. Who wants the fish and chips? Tell me your name. It is indeed. The fellow Hamish and yourself there. What happened to that ignorant Springbok supporter who said that the All Blacks put more effort into the haka? They're playing the game just asking, says Charlton. They normally do disappear at the end of the game, depending on the result. I can guarantee you if South Africa won by 13 or so, they would have been here letting us know about it. And the boys got it in themselves, says Young Fish and Chips, says Timothy, and hooker is a vital position for the forwards. ABs have no giants yet, and Mapimpi still gave them grief. They did. I was scared when I saw those two going forward. Bodie's speed, heart, and intelligence, so important to the AB's World Cup ambition, says Mark. And guys, I'm a South African, and that was a great game for the All Blacks. Good game, says Troyden. And I enjoy comments like that, because at the end of the day, like, it's a rivalry between New Zealand and South Africa. It's extended for a century, and there's just so much mutual respect between the two sides. Like, win, lose, or draw, you know that at the end of the game, they're going to shake hands, and they're going to say, just like last time, put on a very good game. Mo'unga for 10. Says Young there, I reckon keep Mo'unga at starting 10, bring Bowden on in the last 30. So the question I have is, if you're bringing him on for the last 30, are you putting him as your fly half, or are you putting him as your fullback or somewhere else in that back line? And it's about time to put more dollars, or put up more dollars for Foster, says King To'o. And thoughts on Havili 12 in his back line. I like him as a player, but error prone as well as Magical, says positive. Yeah, he does seem to have 50-50s. Like, what was it? He had one where he somehow handled the ball where it didn't even look like he should have been able to catch it. But then the other one was he did end up having a couple mistakes that did almost lead to the try. I'm just going to have a quick look. Was Beauden Barrett on the field when the All Blacks conceded that try? I don't know. Did Beauden Barrett make his way out onto the field before Makazole Mapimpi scored? So Beauden, he came on at 61. Makazole Mapimpi scored at 59. Okay, no, he was a little bit later. I was going to say, I wonder whether or not Mo'unga hesitating was because of the fact that he was a little bit unsure whether or not him or Beauden were going to be the guy playing as the fly half. Now, if we just get Will Jordan on fullback, that will be the swan song. And Beauden problem is not starting. He can sit at fullback well both games, but sketchy, but I hope he bounces back after the yellow. And Foster versus Eben, says Nazi Williams, at surely games against Argentina we will see more game time for Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. I hope so. Alongside that, I hope to see Stephen Perofeta get his All Blacks debut, just because he has been waiting patiently for that opportunity. And also ABs as two different attack. Mo'unga bring the Satyrs attack, Beauden Barrett brings the Blues attacks. Which one do you want on the field, says Pinelli. And I think it all comes down to what your opposition's looking like. Overall, I think South Africa, it showed that the Crusaders' backline link-up did seem to be a little bit more successful up against them. I'm surprised we won, but I'm happy we did. We'll help put some confidence back, and we take the piss, but it's always love, says RJJ. And Eben would eat Foster. Yeah, I think he would. I remember, like, Eben Etzebeth is always just an absolute tank. Made of pure muscle, that man. And would have to be 15 as Richie needs more time to solidify his stability at 10 with more minutes at international level. We have always played better with 10s like Richie, Dan Carter, and Andrew Mertz. And Shane South Africa says Don. And also, don't think we did one box kick tonight, says Bruce. That is true. I think all of the kicks were fired back into the pocket. And I think that's just using the conditions to their advantage. Whereas we probably saw more box kicks than we ever have from South Africa almost. Or maybe not than we ever have. Last Rugby Championship was quite prominent for those box kicks. But I think overall, the box kicking of South Africa did probably was a bit of their downfall. Foster got that Waikato River bower, though. And Wayne Splitters, like game one, says Xavier, it is going to be, I believe, in September, but I will get you the exact date right now as well, so I can let you know exactly when it is taking place. I didn't understand why the try was not awarded to South Africa. It was because it was offside. I think it was for an Aaron Smith, says Joe Granger. Okay, so the try offside for Aaron Smith. I'm trying to think back what one it was. I know that there was one that a lot of people felt that advantage should have been over when Lucanio was able to run in for the try. But yeah, there were a few interesting advantages. Some long, some were short. And Eben versus Sonny Bill, says RJJ. I think Eben still takes that one, doesn't he? The first Bledisloe Cup match, it is going to be on the 15th of September. And when you're at the bottom, the only way is up, go ABs. And the starting 15 was all wrong. The subs made the difference. But still, bringing on your subs before halftime is a worry. Won't have the same impact as the last 30. And Hendrickse at 9, what a terrible player, says Willem. Yeah, he had a shocker. Unfortunately, he really did struggle to find his feet. He had those handling errors. The box kicks weren't really effective. Although Makazole Mapimpi still put in a great chase to try and retain that ball. I think he was pretty good. Now that I think about it, Damien Dialende, how much did we see of that man? We didn't really get to see him. He had 5 carries, 3 defenders beaten. So when he had the ball, he did all right. He had 30 meters carried. And yeah, other than that, it was just Makazole Mapimpi and Lukanyo. I'll do my research, find out what happened, says Joe Granger. And Eben has no boxing history, while Sonny has been boxing since a team. Plus his Samoan, says Juju. That is a good point. But I think Eben, deep down, he's a scrapper, I think. And I think he'd be able to take quite a few hits. And Rico and Savi absolutely fire. Dialende did a lot, says Janie. In there as well. I guess it was just overshadowed by the amount that we did see of Lukanyo and Makazole Mapimpi. He's probably similar to what we saw from Sam Cane, how he was that silent workhorse, just getting the job done. He made 6 tackles, 1 turnover, 1 from himself for Limsa. Should start at 12. And I'm at 13. Dialende is bash, 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 no impact. Says Willem there and Joe Granger. I think you're talking about the try that Sam Whitelock was blocked by the South African scrum half. Easy call for the ref, says Joe Bro. And that was actually also Jaden Hendrickse, sadly for him. And thinking about it, though, the ABs had enough motivation this week to come over, even the atmosphere of Ellis Park. The next match will give us an accurate measurement, if you ask me, says Surin. Yeah, back in New Zealand soil, playing up against the Argentines. That will be a 7:45 p.m. kickoff on the 27th of August. That will actually be the follow-up game to the match that we do get to see between South Africa and Australia, which we will also hopefully do quite a long build-up to, if that is something you guys do want to see on the channel. We did have quite a bit of it, and also we have got how many cups of coffee have you had to keep you awake for the whole night, says Taleo. Believe it or not, I have had 0, which is very hard to believe because I have been up for about 17 hours at the moment. We have still got a few more hours left, though. We are doing the game that has taken place between Australia and Argentina. Alongside that, we are also going to be doing probably a little bit more of the post-match review. I believe we are going to be talking to Rugby Itch after that game, and then I'll probably end up going to sleep. George is coming around after he finishes work, so I'll get about 5 or 6 hours. Then I'll be back up. I think we're going out for tea somewhere, and by going out for tea, I mean we're going to KFC. It's not as impressive as going out to tea sounds. Finally, a true 10 run in the backs, says Darren. Yeah, Mo'unga made the backline his own there. And it's something that we've needed. Bowden Barrett, he loves going for the run. Mo'unga, we hardly saw the running, but we did get to see the skill of Havili and also Rico Ioane on the outside. And that's good. And KC is nice. And that's a date, says Nazi Williams in there as well. But yeah, we'll go get some chicken. That's the thing. It's become a bit of a habit that we get chicken after having a long weekend of streams. That's the thing. The Bunnings NBC's tomorrow. We have got a donation from Vince Cal. Thank you very much, mate. Hugely appreciated for that. I do see a Kiwi in your picture there, and get popcorn chicken, says Joe Granger. That is very nice. And beat me, bro. I have 1 hour sleep. I'll probably have an early sleep tonight, says Marco Vonapola. And they were overconfident. They were going to bag this one, says Franz. And the first half cost us. Weber not throwing straight when we were on the attack. Took the pressure off New Zealand. And if they do that against New Zealand, you're asking for trouble. South Africa, we're their own worst enemy, says Willem. And the big thing for me is as soon as Bongi Ombanambi was out, the first change I would have been making was putting Malcolm Marx in the starting lineup and having Dweber off the bench, just because South Africa, they needed a good start. We've seen what the pressure can do up against the All Blacks when they do have a slow start. And at the end of the day, Malcolm Marx, even at altitude, I'd say he gives you a good 60 minutes or so before he does have to go off. So yeah, that's probably what I would have done if I was in charge. I'm going back to bed now, says Bernard on your lawn. I remember he won the heavyweight title even after not boxing for 10 plus years. And they're a gain line threat option in the midfield for the ABs to be a challenger for 10 plus years, says Juju. And what happened to the high tackle on Clark just before the Takiaho try looked dangerous, but was never reviewed. There was also one that I saw a little bit later on, I believe, that I was looking at. I can't remember what it was that I was saying, but I said that they should go back and look at that one, and they didn't. And I'm not too sure what it was, but I'll be honest, I'll probably watch this game like 5 times, similar to what I did last week. If you guys do want to be able to watch this game in full, Be sure to check it out. You can get yourself a 7-day Stan Sport free trial. What we will quickly do once again is we will give you the link to be able to sign up for a VPN if you do want one, that is. You don't have to get one. We have got an affiliate link, as I did reach out to them and I was like, hey, I like your VPN. Care to have a chat about VPNs? And they were like, yeah, all right, fair enough. And Lamapi is back in New Zealand. He's our best 12. But the question is, have they burnt those bridges? And so as Lamapi revealed who he's signing for, please, I return to New Zealand. And also I agree with the Mark's point. Visa should have gone off, cost the South Africa more. Always reliable Willie in the corner. I'm happy whenever he's on, says Yanni. Because for me, I would have had Visa in the starting lineup because he played well last week. He was the leading tackler. It was the elbow from Frizzell, says Joe Webby. Yeah, that was one of them, wasn't it? How he did come in and went on to Visa. But I think if Visa started the match, he wouldn't have had that one where he did hit Aaron Smith late because he might have been close to going off the field at that point in time. But Dwayne Vermeulen just coming back from a surgery and giving him the start was a huge risk for the Springboks. That is our link to our VPN affiliate link, ladies and gentlemen. With that link, you can get 82% off plus 3 months full free on the 2-year plan. So there you go. A bit of a special. It actually works very well. I was watching Stan Sport yesterday because I did want to test to make sure that it was working. And also, he's lucky he was hiding from David Tua. But you know your stuff, says RJJ. Speaking of stuff like that, we have got a UFC video coming out on the Kiwi Lads Sport tomorrow, or today, in fact, at 8 p.m. New Zealand time. Be sure to check out the Kiwi Lads Sport channel as we, I guess I should say, have got the video coming up to Foster Go. I think if New Zealand Rugby are a corporation of their word, they said if he doesn't get one win, he's gone. He got a win. I think they'll keep him around for a little bit longer and get over lumpy lumps. As midfield answer, Havili showed his class tonight. Says it was Ben Preble. Yeah, Havili played very well in this contest. And congrats to the All Blacks. They put my countrymen to the sword, says Marawan. Although the good news is the next time we play South Africa, they're certainly going to be able to bring it once again. That's why I love this rivalry. You never quite know what way the game is going to go. All Blacks win this one by 12. Springboks win the first game by 16. It's very hard to tell who would have won the third. If we did get it, is it just me or South Africa's aerial and breakdown game non-existent today? Said the Big V8 show. The breakdown was a real struggle for the Springboks. I did notice, though, a little bit more, like aerial-wise, they were missing Arunsu. They would have loved to have him out there because Jesse Creel getting knocked out very early on was a big shame for them, but saying that he had missed a couple tackles at that point in time as well. But Makazole Mapimpi still trying hard, but I don't think there was too many other players in that backline who were going up for as many high balls as Mapimpi other than maybe Damian Valimza and thought they were going to give a penalty try. What is that? Says Yanni. So pretty much a penalty try involves the try being awarded. No player gets credit for that try, and it is an automatic 7 points, so you don't actually have to take the conversion. So if you're way out by the touchline and a side give away a penalty try, it's pretty much they save you from having to try and convert from way out wide. And hard luck box, 2 disallowed tries and a few dodgy penalties again, says John Smith there. And yeah, there were a few in this match. I think both sides did have a few that were a little bit questionable. Luke Pearce, he seems to be very strict, so we knew that there were always going to be a lot of penalties. But yeah, the Springboks, I think they were a little bit unlucky with a couple in this one. And I still think AB's has the better team that they haven't played yet. AB still need to find the combination. Ellis Park is the AB's second fortress after Eden Park. And that should have been a penalty try, says Berenice. And also reckon, says Vince. And thanks, says Yanni. And also TMO Itis, says RJJ. And then the box weapon, Arunsu, was a big loss for South Africa. Yeah, they seem to have just repeated injuries on that right wing, whether it is Chisel and Colby. I'm quite surprised that they haven't got Sipa Unkosi somewhere in there, just with that extra bit of pace. South Africans took less than 2 hours before the excuse. And pouring out, says Chuju. And rate the players, says Loma. Oh, do you want me to rate every single player who played in this contest? Or just like, in terms of, I'll tell you what, I'll go my top 3 for each sides. My top 5, because 3 is going to be too hard to pick. So for South Africa, Lukanyawam, Makazole Mapimpi. Ooh. Who else do we like? I'd say Willie LaRue actually had a pretty solid game, to be fair. I put him as almost my third option. Then I'd go probably Malcolm Marks, just because even though he didn't have the best game, he was still able to do quite well in the breakdown. Or in fact, I'd actually give it to Stephen. Oh no, he gave away a penalty. I'll still go Malcolm Marx just because they needed someone to have a little bit more of a stability after Joseph Weber. And then I'll probably go, I'd either go Willemse or Damien Dialende. Wait, yeah, one of those two, I would say. Because Peter Steph-Toy, he was good, but he did have a lot that he was just trying to get in there. Wasn't able to do too well. You're forgetting that Grub Lamb. And there says Joe Bro. And also, we're good there. I agree with you, Curtis, says Yanni. And your thoughts on Mo'unga's impact? There was a very prominent impact there for him. And Darren has said Smith, Richie Quinn, Jack, Sevu, Caleb, and Will, says Darren. And there, but for the All Blacks, I would go Rieko Ioane, Will Jordan, Richie Mo'unga, David Havili, and also, it's hard to just go 5 because I go Artie Savia, but an honourable mention for Frizzell and Sam Cane as well, probably, as Jason Ryan made improvement to the forwards. I think they are looking a lot sharper than they were. Weber is not a Springbok. Should it have started? Says Stefan. See, for me, with Umbanambi out, like I mentioned a little bit earlier on, that's when you put Malcolm Marx in. You say, right, we don't have that option, so we need to put him in as a bit of a safety. He's going to be able to play 60 minutes. And, it's one of those ones that I would have liked to see Malcolm Marx start. And also, I used your streams to market my business Facebook page to get likes. Is that okay? I can pay you, bruv. If not, it's all good, my brother. Go for it. Marco, 100% completely fine with me, mate. Give it a go. I want to see your best promo, and I'll read it out for you. You give me a script right there in the chat, and I will read it as if I'm doing some sort of brand deal. And no, Jack Goodhue was overrated. He showed us last year how terrible he was. Although he did have a rough patch because he was having a few injury troubles and also was a little bit unfit. We have also got their box. Not have their best game today. Only 3 players on the field. Willaroo, Arma, Mapimpi in there as well. Says Anita, and forwards look stable. About time, says Vince, and Ian Foster must be sacked. Although they won the game for this one. Is this illegal business? I don't think so. He's just going to tell me what his Facebook page is, and I'm going to say, go check it out. The first test, we gave them no space to run in the second test. We let them have their way. And that was the problem. Giving New Zealand space is just stupid. And when you close them down, they struggle. And All Blacks will rip off Wallabies and Pumas. And there says Gita, and that is going to be another one that is coming up relatively soon. I would like a poll of Foster. Has he done enough to hold his job, if that's okay? Says Joe Webby. I like that poll very much, Joe. So what we're going to do, does Ian Foster keep his job? There we go. We've got a yes or no for does Ian Foster keep his job. Be honest with it. Of course, we did see the All Blacks win this game. Did he do enough that gave you a little bit of hope for him to be in there? Big up the big bowl, or big up the poll, says Josh. Mark's only got 1 turnover right. Yeah, I believe so. I think he only had the 1, and then he had a couple close ones. No, Robertson is a genius, says Darren. And there, and a box to lose in Australia like last year. The new coach for the forwards for the ABs made a huge difference. And what did you think of Caleb's Clark game? It was all right for Caleb Clark. I was a little bit disappointed with that defense in that first one. Foster Stress says Dr. A. Ali. With the first try that the Springboks were able to score with Lokanyuame, we just went down the wing. But I think Caleb Clark overall, he didn't do too much wrong. He just had a couple defensive blunders. Like overall, his attacking game, I thought, was pretty decent. At the moment, 59% of you has said yes. We've already had 54 votes on that poll. That is massive. And while you're at it, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Does Geordie keep a spot at fullback? I don't think so, to be honest. But then it all depends, because if they're playing in New Zealand, it means that there is going to be a lot less distance on the kicks of Richie Mo'unga. His kicking was pretty good today, I thought. But they'll still want to have that long one. Right. I'm going to do a massive promo here for Marco Vanapola. Guys and girls, he has recently made a business Facebook page for my building biz. However, I am useless at social media and want to get to 100 likes, currently at 39. So if you do want to check that out, I'll quickly have a look. Make sure I do tell them the right Facebook page for your building. Of course, my dad's a builder, so we love fellow builders on the channel. Artie wasn't alone tonight. The AB's boys showed up exactly right. That was a comment that I made near the start. It was actually very awesome to see more than one player in the forward pack. Jordan should go 15. And also, hi, Kiwi lads, I prefer this comment or the channel audio coverage of the two Boks versus AB's Test. The South Africa version was passionate, but long silences where the commentator fails to say what is going on as it happens, says more. And yeah, it is hugely appreciated. We do try our best to provide you play-by-play action, and we will be doing the same throughout the URC and a whole heap of other competitions around the world. So be sure to stick around for those ones. I think the forwards did their job, but the backs let down a few too many times, and it was a charge of them. Foster, says Throjan, and yep, Will is the fullback, and Foster has to go. So at the moment, 75 votes. 63% of you have said that Ian Foster keeps his job, and then there's 38% who have said that he does not. And I measure the side. We have got another donation. Thank you very much, Johnny Blaze. Or Mako Vunapolo, I should say. There you go. S. Lee Building Services. Give us a like. Cheers, lads. Says Mako Vunapolo. You heard the man. If you haven't already, be sure to check out his building site. I was going to do it for free, Marco. You didn't have to pay me for that one. I'll see whether or not I can actually get you a specific link for it as well while I'm at it. And also, we have got the All Blacks. And I got you, because will thumbs up, says Nathan. And there as well. One moment. We'll go building services. There we go. Is it going to show me? D. Slee? No, that's not it. Lee Builder? No. That one? Maybe. And also, we've got there. I just like, bro, hopefully good luck getting to the 100. Do you want to put a link to it, Johnny, if you know how to? Out of curiosity. But yeah, if you do know how to do that, because I'm trying to go onto Facebook, but I realized I don't actually have it signed in on my computer or my PC. And Will isn't as good defensively, says Freshman. Although he's normally pretty solid. And under the high ball, he did show that he is just as good as Geordie Barrett in these kind of tough situations. But I think they will switch between the two. And then you've also got Damian McKenzie coming back in there. So that will be another one that you do have to check out, or that you do have to watch out for. And it's on Facebook, guys, says Juju in there. So yeah, be sure to check out S. Lee Building Services on Facebook. Long-time subscriber of the channel. Be sure to help him out. To Damien Dialende, number 12. Have a good game. He went all right. He did a lot of things that not too many people noticed, I guess you could say, just because he was consistently working hard to, I guess, with the positioning, he was actually very good overall. But he had a few running meters, not as many as Lukanyuama, Makazoli, Mapimpi. Foster will say New Zealand too weak to sack him. And well done, New Zealand, well-deserved win. I don't know how to, bro, but I'll do it later. Maybe Sebastian can help me with that. Says Marco Vanapola in there as well. One moment. I'll see whether or not I can send it to myself. What we will do is we'll go here. One moment. I'm going to help you out, mate. And also interested to see how James O'Connor goes for the Wallabies later on. Yeah, he is going to be starting that match, isn't he? Which will be an interesting one, because they have been losing players flat out. And I do feel sorry for Nick White. The reason I say that is because anytime I put someone in my thumbnail, they either leave because of mental health or they do get injured. Last week it was Quade Cooper. He got injured. The week before that, or the last time I actually had it, it was, what's his face? Michael Hooper. And New Zealand were very negative today. They won't get away with this one, or with this at the World Cup, says Terry G. And also, I think the Springboks sabotaged the game by not starting Malcolm Marks and not coming in with the same ruthless ferocity as last week. It's a win, or it's a win to the Springboks, although they lost, says Mr. Zion Force. In New Zealand, says Henry. I'm sorry, that was Harry. Would the All Blacks have beaten Ireland if they played the same way that they did? It's the game today. It's a tricky one, because it's a weird one, because it's a whole different game, of course, when you do get to see them on a different one. And what was your opinion on the presumed advantage playing at altitude for the Springboks? And why did the Abs finish stronger? Says more. I think they were very strategic with when they brought their men onto the field, because they did, rather than going for a little bit more of a risky attempt at having those guys out there, which was what we did see for the Springboks. They went very early, whereas the All Blacks, they waited as long as physically possible. Does Ian Foster keep his job? By the looks of the poll, 56% of you have said yes. It's getting closer. All right, what a time to be alive, says Distracted Sports. And there as well, yep, New Zealand back on the winning path. And there he is, Distracted Sports. Did you just wake up, bro? No, I believe he did the live stream. If I'm not wrong, he would have been a very happy chap on that one. And Richie Mo'unga, definitely the New Zealand team. And also, does Ian Foster keep his job, says Henry? I think for now he does. They may reassess after the Rugby Championship. But then the problem with after the Rugby Championship is you're almost getting too close to your next task, which is the Rugby World Cup. And also those November international. Richie was on, says Golden Guest. And Joseph Dweber's start was a bad move, says Mo there. And a lot of sore loser box supporter on here now, says you do. Although I know for a fact that if New Zealand lost, it would have been the same the other way around. It's just some people do enjoy winning. And some people do not like losing. And normally they are the same person. Artie was a beast, says Patrick in there. And who had the worst game today, both teams, says Curtis. Right. Worst game for the Springboks, I would say, was Jaden Hendrickse. Oh, but that's tough because Joseph Dweber had a shocker too. Now that I think about it, one of those two, can I do a forward and a back for both sides? Because if I can, Joseph Dweber and also Jaden Hendrickse. I wouldn't give either of them more than like a 3 out of 10 for the way that they did end up going. Then for the All Blacks, if I had to pick someone in that back line who had the worst game, it's actually probably Geordie Barrett, just because he was probably the one we saw the least. And then in the All Blacks forwards, I would say that it's a tricky one, actually. You almost got to say Ethan de Groot or Lomax because they gave away a couple penalties each. But other than that, like, it weren't too bad overall. They did put on a real team effort. And Dweber had an unfortunate day, says Distractor Sports. Yeah, starting him was a huge risk. It didn't pay off for them. Would be nice for the Boks to come into this game with a plan B, says Terry G. And Geordie took some massive high balls in that game. That is true. So I guess would you go, if you had to pick a worst back in the game, Distractor Sports, would you? Oh, actually, I might almost go Caleb Clark. But then he had an all right game. It's kind of the case of who had the least best game, but still had a solid one. And Dweber was wearing the number 2 shirt for the All Blacks. There's Mako Vanapola. And I say, yes, says Nathan. What time does the Australian game start? It will be starting in about an hour's time. We will be covering that one on the channel. We lose the game if Geordie doesn't take those high balls. He didn't get going on attack, but he really does. So, says Freshman. So, yeah, it's a lot easier to pick a back for South Africa who did worse than it is for New Zealand in this game, which in the last game was the complete opposite. It was a lot harder to pick a South African player who didn't have a solid game. And also, Dweber is the future. He's a diamond in the rough. And Cameron, I think, at 9 p.m., says Berenice. So, yeah, it will be roughly 9 p.m. South African time. And Bowden on 2 minutes yellow card. That is actually true. I forgot about the benches. Very good shout there. And I had a shocker apart from the try he scored. So I sent to says Kyle. And it's a tough question. I'll go Caleb Clark. Dropping off the Lukanyu arm tackle was bad. Or Lukanyu arm tackle. Oh, why can I not say that? I could say Lukanyu arm fine, but I couldn't say tackle was bad. And didn't have his best attacking game, says Distractor Sports. And Vamos Los Pumas, says Nathan Harvili or Clark, says Freshman. I say Bowden did the worst, says Rugby XV. And Caleb turned up for 30 minutes and then did not really see him. And Armin's an incredible player, yeah. He was above and beyond for this game for the Springboks. 144 meters carried. Insane for that man. And then also alongside him, Makazole Mapimpi, 118 meters carry, 110%. Foster is doing the greatest job of all time, 110%. Says Kingy there. And the poll at the moment does have it as 180 votes. And there you go, relatively close for that one as well. But anyone who does want to watch that Argentina versus Australia game live, you will need a VPN. Set yourself to Stan Sport if you do want a chance of watching it for free. You can cancel your trial on the VPN and also on Stan Sports after the matches as well. But nonetheless, I think we are almost near the end of this review. We've almost been going for an hour. So any last minute questions that you have got in the chat, be sure to put them in there. Also, while we're at it, Esley Building Services on Facebook. Got to support the fellow Kiwi lad supporters. So that is Esley Building Services. Check it out. It's kind of like a little brand deal, isn't it? Because you paid me. But I was going to do it for free. I'm surprised the Boks to get more cards for all those yellow cards, says Juju. And the Boks number 2 did a laugh where the haka was done and put the Boks to lose. See, that's the thing. Joseph Dweber, he stayed staring down the barrel of the All Blacks haka for a good extra few seconds. He stood there. He was going, nah, you're not intimidating me. But I think deep down, either it did intimidate him or he just was going to have a shocker anyway because he did very, very badly. That game saying, like Smart for raising the hand. Says Rugby XV. South Africa is going. Are they going to win the World Cup? I think they've still got a very good chance, South Africa. At the end of the day, anyone on that side of the draw, Ireland, France, South Africa, and New Zealand have a good chance. And also, I'm sending you 2 All Black jersey tomorrow, size L. Cheers, mate. You are a legend, says Marco Vonopola Bear. If you're sending 2, does that mean that you will no longer have one, Johnny? Because I feel like I want you to have one as well. It can be twins. And G Support A, ticking for Ian Foster, says Nathan. And also, we have got, do you think New Zealand will win the championship? I don't think so. But they've got themselves back on the right track here, getting that win. They've got a couple home games that they will have up against the Argentines, and then they've got the matches up against Australia, which is going to be a big testing point for them. And Springboks tries came from All Blacks poor kicking. Whoever Foz still needs to go, says Kyle. And also Argentina versus Australia is on Flow Rugby, says Mo. So you wouldn't actually need the Stan Sport. You would just need a VPN, unless, or it depends on where you are in the world, of course. Yeah, you could get that set up with a VPN or just be able to watch it as it is. Feel bad for Ireland. They are most likely get New Zealand or France for the Rugby World Cup crossover. Although the other side of things is they're going to have South Africa in that quarterfinal bunch as well. How's the poll on Foster? 54% have said that he keeps his job, or 55% in fact, and then 46%, that's not 100, but that is the maths that they have gone with. So I'll say 45% have said no of 200 votes. So it's pretty inconclusive, I guess you could say at the moment, relatively close for this one. But anyone who hasn't already, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It is hugely appreciated. You guys all being here. We are almost at 16,000 subscribers on the channel. In fact, when I have a quick look, we are sitting on 15,000. I can't get over saying that. That is way too many. 928. So we are 72 away. So let's see, with 400 plus people watching, can we get that to 15,950 by the end of this live stream? We've still probably got another 5 minutes or so. Me too. I remember Foster, says Joe Webby, and keep dreaming. One game changes nothing. And interesting, to be honest, who will take out the Rugby Championship? Yeah, I think it's anyone's game at the moment. And there are 506 in the chat, but only 1/5 of the likes, says Mo. It is indeed. So anyone who isn't as well, be sure to hit that like button. I still believe Owen Franks has a lot to offer the ABs. Still very young. He's a fantastic scrummager, says Cameron. And also we have got in the chat, Fozzie stays. I believe something special is in the works. What we saw tonight was just the beginning. And yeah, they did play pretty well for themselves in this game. Definitely because of where they were last week. The change is drastic in just a week, that is for sure. An Irish rugby fan, I think France are favourites for the Rugby World Cup, says Labradors. Hopefully I've said that correctly. But yeah, they've got a very good chance of winning at France. They've got home field advantage as well. They're a tough side to beat at the moment, no matter where you play them. But at home, it's going to be awesome to see how they go. And I look forward to that opening match of the Rugby World Cup between New Zealand and France. We will be covering that one on the channel as well, I should mention. So anyone who is new, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. But nonetheless, I think we are almost at the end of this live stream. We will be back in about 40 minutes time for our next live stream taking place, which is Argentina versus Australia. I hope to see some of you guys there. Thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Like I mentioned, check out Esley Building Services, as he is one of my buddies, I guess you could say. And yeah, nonetheless, thank you all very much for tuning in. Be sure to check out the Kiwi Lads Sport channel as well. While we're at it, check out a VPN if you do need one for being able to watch the game, as they are very useful and does mean that you do have a little bit more security when you're online. And also, be sure to check out the Kiwi Lads Sport. I feel like I've thrown about 50 different things at you guys now, but the Kiwi Lads Sport, one moment, we will go like that. We will go like that. But this is the link for the Kiwi Lads Sport. We are going to have a video posted on there tomorrow, or later on today, in fact, 8 p.m. New Zealand time. That will be the video of me and George playing UFC 4. Thank you all very much for tuning in. I will see some of you guys in 40 minutes time. Hope you did enjoy the commentary, and I will see you all for the next.